Welcome to Paris Undressed on Paris Underground Radio. I'm your host, Kate Kim Griffin, and every week we go behind the scenes of the lingerie capital of the world to explore femininity and sensuality. My guest today is Gloria Villa, a photographer specializing in boudoir photography in Paris. So welcome, Gloria. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Tell us, how did you end up in Paris? What's your story?
Well, it was an adventure, in fact. It was actually a life crisis. I studied advertising in my major in university, and it was 5 years of advertising. I come from Colombia, South America. And when I graduated from college, I started working in the dream job that everybody wanted, which was an advertising agency, and I hated it. I was like, oh my God, this is definitely not for me. I don't see myself within four walls, just, living this life. I cannot. So I decided that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I created a interior design business with a friend of mine. And we worked with that for about 6 years, very hard trying to make it work, but it wasn't really profitable. I think it was the fact that I didn't have enough experience in terms of business, and it was not something, I don't know what it was, but I just couldn't pull it off. So I was very stressed, very lost. I didn't know what to do with my life. I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? I don't want to go back to advertising, but I cannot make it as an interior designer. So I have no idea what to do. So I decided to start studying law at the same time that I was doing interior design thing. And I said, well, maybe as a lawyer, I will make it. I was always good, in philosophy. When I was in high school, I have loads of lawyer friends, so why not? So I started doing that and studying, and I was actually good with that. It wasn't bad, but it was like being a law student in Colombia. I don't know anywhere else, but in Colombia, it's like a full-time job. So I was burnt out. I was like so full with so many things and trying to do the business as well. I just couldn't do it. It was so hard. So I was very depressed, very lost, very, what am I going to do? Like, this is not working here. This is not working there. Nothing is actually working, and I'm not happy. And then in 2013, on Easter, I went to visit my parents with my boyfriend at the time, my best friend and her husband. And I got sick while I was there in the north of Colombia, where my parents live. I didn't know what it was. My mother literally dragged me to the emergency room. They left me at the hospital, and they said, no, you cannot leave. You have something, and we have to study what you have. So while I was in the hospital, I started developing even worse symptoms. So I got a pneumonia. I couldn't breathe. My kidneys and my liver were inflamed. And I started having like very strong fevers, and it was a clear infection. And they said, okay, you have a multi-systemic attack. Something's attacking you like everywhere. And we need to figure out quickly what it is, because if it goes to your heart or your brain, you're fried. I was in a very, very bad shape. I didn't respond to antibiotics for the first week. So they have to put like last generation antibiotics, like whatever they had, while they were trying to figure out what it was. So it was like just shooting at whatever it was, not knowing exactly what it was. After 2 weeks in the hospital, and I'm very, very close not to make it, I actually started responding and getting better.
Close not to make it, meaning you almost died.
Yes, meaning that. And then I started reacting to the antibiotics and little by little recovering, and I went out of the hospital in a very bad shape. And then at that point, my business, went bankrupt. And then obviously I couldn't go to university, because I couldn't go to classes. So I lost the semester. The day after I left the hospital, my current boyfriend, the one that was, I was living with him for 2 years, got to my parents' place and said that he just crashed my car while he was drunk, having, partying in my car. So obviously that was the end of my relationship. So I was broke, car broken, heartbroken.
Everything you had was broken.
Yeah, everything was, yeah, exactly. And my self-esteem was broken, and I was, very depressed, very lost, like everything was falling apart. And I thought it was like the end of it. I was like, what else? But my father, who's a very wise man, told me, look, in this moment, you cannot go any deeper. The worst case scenario was that you died and you didn't. So you cannot get any lower than this. The only thing you can do is to go up. Whatever you do, whatever you decide right now is just a gain. You can just only go up. And that gave me a sense of freedom. What do I have to lose?
It didn't scare you?
No, actually, it was great because what do I have to lose? I have nothing to lose. I can start from scratch. There's no attachment, there's nothing, you know. So I was like, okay. So there was one thing while I was in the hospital, I thought, if I die, I've never seen Paris. And that was scary. I was obsessed with Paris. I've always wanted to come to Paris, and I've never thought of living in Paris. It was just a dream of just seeing it once in my life. If I just could come here and see it once, I'd be happy.
And that's what's going through your mind as the fever's raging in this hospital, and you're thinking, Paris, I have to see Paris.
How on earth am I gonna die and I've never seen Paris? This is ridiculous. Like, I think this cannot be happening. So afterwards, I decided that I needed to change. Really, really needed to change. I needed to change everything in my life. And at that point, I met a guy, and this guy was a doctor from Venezuela that was actually in the process of moving to Germany. And he was visiting Medellin, which is my home city in Colombia, and he rented an apartment from Airbnb that I was managing. So I rented him this apartment, we met, and we just, clicked. It just clicked. So we started texting and talking and everything. Then he left for Venezuela, and we started having dates on Skype. And then
So it was a romantic click.
It got romantic very fast. Even though nothing happened, we saw each other once, and then he left. But then we started, having dates on Skype. And he went to Germany to become a doctor in Germany. So I decided, okay, I want to go to Europe. I'm going to go to Europe, and I want to see what happens. And yeah, he is a motivation, but he's not the only motivation. And I wasn't crazy enough to just go to Germany. I didn't speak the language. I didn't know what was going to, happen with this guy or anything. So I was like, let's be prudent. I always wanted to live in Paris. Let's see what I can get. So I started applying to scholarships here and there and everything, like anything else. I applied for Germany, Denmark, France, you name it. And in Paris, there was this university that had photography as a program. And I said, okay, this is it. So I applied, and they accepted me.
Okay, but why photography? Did you have an interest in photography already?
Yeah, well, what happened is right before I got sick, I bought a reflex camera. It was like the cheapest Nikon, but it was at least interchangeable lens. You could put different lenses on. And I bought it because I wanted to have decent photos on my portfolio as an interior designer. And once I bought it, I said, okay, well, now that I have it, why don't I learn how to use it? So I took a small photography course just to learn how to use the camera.
And at the time, thinking that it would be a resource for your interior design, but not necessarily an independent passion.
Exactly right. You're exactly right. So what happened is, once I started taking, photos in this course, we started to do photography weekends, and we would go to a nearby town, and just have like a photography expedition, and then we would criticize those pictures. And the teacher told me, hey, your photos, I think they stand out. I think you have something here. You should pursue something here. And I was so depressed and so low in self-esteem that it just took somebody just to say that you're good at something to just go for it.
But this is all still you haven't left Colombia yet. This is still in Colombia.
Nothing. This is actually before I was sick. I was just, doing tutorials on and doing things and learning, and then I got sick, and then, I met this guy, and so I said, you know what, this seems perfectly in line within what I want, so just go and apply in this university. It sounds fun anyway. And they happened to accept me in the program in Paris.
In Paris, fabulous.
It was a process to convince my parents to let me come because I had no money at all. So I was like, if you guys don't help me, I cannot go. So they helped me, and I arrived to Paris, and it was amazing. Oh my God. I just arrived to the city of my dreams. I remember the first time I saw the Louvre. I just couldn't believe it. It wasn't even the Eiffel Tower that actually shocked me as much as the Louvre.
It took your breath away.
I just remember seeing this huge 3 blocks architecture structure full of little details in every single corner, and just thinking, whoa, like how on earth back on those times they did this? It was insanity. And my mother is an architect, so I always been, very sensitive to architectural details because she taught me from very little how to appreciate those. So for me, it was insane. It was amazing.
Paris Undressed will be right back after a word from our sponsors. And now, back to Paris Undressed.
So I arrived to the university. I go to the application thing, and they said to me, oh, sorry, you're not in photography. You're in plastic arts. And I'm like,
oh, you're in plastic arts. Art
plastic. And I'm like, why am I on this? I never applied for this. It's like if I applied to law and you receive me in economy. Like, that doesn't make any sense at all.
And you're in Paris already.
I'm in Paris already. And they said, oh, well, the photography department is part of the Department of Art Plastique, and you made it just to Art Plastique, but you didn't make it because there are limited places in photography. Try next year. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
You've just given everything to come.
Exactly. I just crossed the ocean.
Oops.
And that's it. Like literally, oops, and there's no solution at all. So believe it or not, I had to study 1 year of plastic arts, and I have a diploma and all.
Oh. Well, congratulations. Is there anything in plastic arts from that year that you have put in terms of a resource in your photography skill set?
Maybe the language, it helped me with the language, I think, to get a little bit better with the French. But not really. No. Okay. My photography skills came from elsewhere. I decided I'm going to be a photographer no matter what. I came and, I'm not giving up. So I went on Google, I put Paris photographer, and I remember the first person that popped out, it was the Paris photographer. And theparisphotographer.com the photos were amazing. And the bio said, I'm a self-taught photographer. I'm from Romania. And I've been doing this since, I don't know, it was like a year and a half ago. And I was like, if anyone can understand the position that I'm in, is this guy.
So you're just Googling Paris and photography, and you come up with this Romanian photographer. Is he still here?
Yeah, he's amazing. He's a great friend. He's my mentor, and his name is Fran Bologni. And that same week, I went to the Alexander III Bridge to take photos. I was passionate, and the best light is sunrise. So I was like, with my little tripod and my little camera there, just taking photos of Paris, the Eiffel Tower, and all different details on the bridge.
It's a great perspective there, yes.
It is fantastic. So there was actually a photographer taking photos of a couple. And I said, oh, cool. I'm just going to ask for his business card, and I will have another contact. You never know. He hands me his card, and he's the Paris photographer.
Oh, come on.
I know, right? So I called him like 2 days after. I was like, hey, hello, you gave me your card on the bridge. Thank you so much. We're with clients. I didn't want to interrupt, but I'm a Colombian photographer. I just arrived in Paris. I don't know anyone, and I would like to be your assistant or something. I want to learn from you. I can offer my work. I can work for you for free, no strings attached, no contract, no nothing. And if you don't want to hear from me again, I promise I will disappear. The only thing that I want is just an opportunity. And he said, okay, come to one of my photo shoots and we'll see. I was like, okay. So I go to one of his photo shoots, and it's a long pre-wedding photo shoot with a Chinese couple. So I was, carrying around big bags and, helping the girl change in the bathroom and all that stuff. And then Fran, like after 6 hours or something, he said, hey, let's go and grab lunch. And he said, thank you so much. And tell me about you. So I started telling him about everything. And he told me about his path as well as a photographer. And we just clicked. We clicked immediately. And then he said, hey, do you want to come to a second photo shoot? Sure. Third, fourth. And then he said, do you want to be my editor? Yes, sure. So I started editing photos for him. And it took me about 4 months to have a gallery that he would just accept.
What's a gallery?
A gallery is a set of photos for a client, the ones that you deliver. It was never right. It was like, that's too yellow, that's too contrasty, that's too this, that's, and it was great.
Yeah, you learned a lot.
Exactly, because it trained my eye so much.
And he was treating you as a peer. He wasn't going to accept anything less.
Yes.
So 4 months for the first gallery to sort of get a gold star. And then you collaborated together. You worked together in the same studio.
Yeah, I worked. So he had a business partner. They were at the time creating a studio to work under a brand. So they would have this studio and photographers working for them. But that was an idea. It wasn't just yet, something that they had developed. So I was the first photographer that actually started working for that brand. And that's how I became a photographer.
Okay. And now you have finished your first year of plastic arts. You've now got your camera out and you're taking pictures. You're a boudoir photographer as well as doing special occasions and those momentous moments in life. How did you set up your business and your niche?
Well, that's a very interesting question because I have two brands right now. I have one brand that is my social photography, and I have my other brand that is my boudoir photography. So my social photography is elopements, engagements, wedding proposals, and quinceañeras. So I have that, and that's my social brand. And then I have the other brand, which is my boudoir photography brand. And to explain to you what a boudoir photography is just sensual and sexy photos for women. It's a way of them to find their femininity, their sensuality, to empower themselves, to feel confident about themselves in a very sensual way. That's pretty much it. And it's not targeted to models. It's targeted to any woman at any age. Of course, you have to be older enough. You cannot be under 18. But other than that, like you don't have a limit.
And so why boudoir?
I was enjoying very much my social photography. It was great, but the market was getting more and more and more crowded. And I've been always curious, and I always remember I studied advertising, so I know about marketing. And so I decided, I don't remember exactly how I came into boudoir photography. I know that I found it and I found it really interesting. And I decided, hey, why not to do this for myself? This sounds like fun. This looks, great. And then I started, Googling and just looking at things, boudoir photographers. And 95% of what I found out there was so tacky and just horrible. And I was like, oh God, I can't believe there are people getting paid for this. This is just bad, like plainly bad. It was so bad. I was like, okay, whatever I do, I can do it better. I mean, come on. It was about 3-4 years ago. Now are a lot better boudoir photographers now that you can find. But at the time, it was like, no, not so much. And the thing is, I said, if I want this for myself, there is no way I would give my most intimate image and vulnerability to someone that has no idea what to do with it. It's not going to happen. Like I don't want a tacky photo of myself anywhere, even if it's private, forget it.
But as you're saying this, I'm just thinking about something as we're speaking, because the photography that would have come out 4 or 5 years ago, I'm sort of thinking about it in terms of lingerie marketing too. And there is something with boudoir, and there is something about lingerie where there's these preconceptions about what this should be. And perhaps the photography, in very old advertisements for lingerie, I hear so often that women just don't identify with the image, because it's somebody else's image projected onto them. So perhaps some of the photography was along those lines, that idea of what boudoir should be through the lens, perhaps through a male lens.
But exactly. You completely nailed it there. It was very sexualized, very, very, very sexualized male vision.
Yeah, or fantasy.
And I was like, I don't want to be shot. I don't want to be shot like a Playboy bunny. I don't want to look. I just want something sexy and sensual, but tasteful, elegant, nice, where I can see myself put into value, not just objectify and
It implies a great deal of trust. So you must be able to infuse a sense of trust for the woman to be able to show herself like that, to take a risk in expressing herself. So I'm curious to hear how you set that up. These are people coming to you've never met these people, and then suddenly you're photographing them in their most intimate vulnerabilities.
Well, I thought, if I have this problem, I'm not the only one with that problem. I'm sure there are many women that would like to be portrayed in a certain way, that it's a lot more, elegant and more, it's still sexy because you still want to be sexy. That's the whole point of it. I don't want to look like an, angel. But at the same time, I don't want to look super vulgar. I just want to look elegant. What you just said is completely right. I have to gain the people's trust very, very fast. And even with email, not just even talking. While they inquire, the only thing they've seen is my website or my Instagram, and they don't know me, and they just write me, and then I have to respond back. So there is a lot of communication skills and a lot of psychology skills uh, behind.
Well, for both of you, because they're trusting you, but you also have to be able to trust them, because you're photographing in closed spaces, you're
Yeah, and take into account as well that I can be photographing someone from Australia, from Canada, or from Hong Kong, or from Dubai, for example.
so there's cultural differences.
Exactly. So, which are completely different cultures, and I have to adapt to everything. I have to adapt to this personality, to this, with everything. But it helps a lot that I'm a woman, and I understand. Like, at the end of the day, we're not that different. At the end of the day, we as women, we have the same things, the same insecurities. We want the same things. It's not really, we all want to look beautiful. We all want to feel valued. We all want to feel respected, and we all want to feel secure.
Hmm.
We want to feel that we are in a secure space, that nobody's judging us, and that they're there to help us.
Yes.
And I believe in women helping women. So that is also one of the purpose of this business, that I get to do that I get to help women with whatever issue they have. So, and I have many, many reasons why a woman would like to do that. So for sometimes is because they want to do it for their partners, because they've been married for 20 years and they want to spice things up, or because they're starting with their boyfriend, or because they just went through a lousy divorce and they feeling like terrible right now and no worth, and they need to find their worth again, or because they just had a kid 3 years ago, and for the last 3 years they just feel like a mom, and they haven't just felt as a woman for a while, and they need to find again this femininity and get out of their yoga pants, or because they just came from a very bad disease or breast cancer, and they're celebrating that they survived. Like, there's so many things why a woman would like to do that.
Well, I think it's interesting what you say about we all want the same things as well. The city that we all live in, I'm originally from Canada, you're from Colombia. A lot of people we meet, we end up in Paris, but we didn't start here. So there's lots of different languages and lots of different cultures. And I often find myself in the world of lingerie surrounded by women where we don't all speak the same language and our level of French varies. But there's something very universal in our common shared collective experience as women, so that we end up speaking and communicating very easily with our clothes on, bras off. It's just this very universal and collective language that is of a shared experience. So I'm not surprised at all that within this, in the world of boudoir and this intimacy, that shines. That we understand each other. And people come to Paris, you talk a lot about elegance, and the city is elegant. So it already just helps establish the framework for that to happen in, that, like you said, the architecture, the buildings, the spaces are beautiful. So you just start to feel more appreciative of the beauty around you and then the beauty that can come from within.
Exactly. That's actually one of the things that make my brand very particular and very special. And it's the fact that I take the whole idea of the boudoir and I mix it, or I link it with Paris. As I've been obsessed with Paris all my life, and I know what it is and I love it so much, I love to show and to give women not just photos, but a Parisian experience, something memorable that they can have and they can hold and remember forever. So one of the characteristics of my boudoir is that I have two collections where I offer portraits in the city and then the boudoir session inside the apartment.
It's a lived experience. It's not just the photo.
Exactly. You get to live the city. You get to see the landscape and the landmarks, and to stop in a cafe and have a croissant and a nice cafe and take your pictures taken there and everything. We do the portrait session first, so you get to know me first. And I get to know you too. You get used to the camera. You get used to receiving instructions and everything. So it helps you put you at ease.
And you're dressed. You're not running through the streets of Paris completely naked. It starts.
Exactly. So now when you come to the apartment or to the studio to do the photos, well, you're ready, you're relaxed. You already know. It's like, okay, I know this girl now. We've been hanging out for an hour and a half, 2 hours,
And time's different in Paris. You get a lot closer quickly to people. There's something about the bonding in the city of light that brings us all closer. Paris Undressed will be right back after a word from our sponsors. And now, back to Paris Undressed. Gloria, let's back up just a little bit. Your relationship to your own body and sensuality and sexuality as you were growing up. How were you with your changing body and becoming a teenager and to a young adult?
Well, in Colombia, it's a sin to be fat. You cannot. It's just terrible.
It's a sin to be fat?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Like it's like LA, It's kind of like you have to be perfect. You have to have perfect teeth, very white, very straight. You have to be skinny. You have to be, and especially in Medellin, the city that I grew up, it's filled with gorgeous women. I don't know what happened there. I don't know.
It's in the water.
It's in the water or something.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're beautiful, and the competition is fearless. I mean, come on. I mean, you're never good enough. You're never at the standards. Like, they're so gorgeous. Like, you're just, somebody else.
There's a lot of attention on the physicality of okay.
It is. I always feel pretty. I never felt unpleased with my body. I always feel pretty. But, for example, I've never had a flat stomach, ever in my life. No matter how much I work out. It doesn't matter how much diets I do. It doesn't matter. I never, since I am, I don't know, 10 years old or 9 years old, afterwards, never, ever, ever had a flat stomach. And that has been the big frustration, body wise of my life. So believe it or not, from when I was 12 to when I was 22, I went to live in a city called Barranquilla. This is in the north coast of Colombia, and we in for the position of my country is in the equator, which means we don't have seasons. Like it's the same weather and the same sunrise and sunset time all year long, and the weather depends on the altitude of the city. So if you're high in the mountains, it's gonna be cold all year long, and if you're back down in the beach, it's gonna be hot all year long. So I grew up in this city by the beach, which is from 30 to 35 degrees Celsius. I have no idea how much that is in Fahrenheit, but believe me, it's very hot.
It's hot. It's hot.
It's just hot, hot, hot,
Yeah.
hot.
It's double hot. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the beach, I was living by the beach, and never in those years I wore a bikini. Never.
Because of your tummy.
Because of my tummy. So I would go to the beach and I would have pants and a shirt and boots in the beach. Very hot, because I would never dare to wear a bikini. On those years, it's not like now when you can find very beautiful, pretty one-piece swimsuits. At the time, everything was for grandmas. So it was like one piece thing. It would be like either for a nun or for a grandma. It's just horrible. So it was literally impossible to find one piece thing that would look all right. So I rather not use anything and not just either not go to the beach or go completely dressed and never dare to go into the water because I had nothing to wear because that's how important clothing and lingerie and swimwear is, in fact.
Yeah. And you're saying this as somebody who already, as you say, you feel attractive. You have a good level of self-confidence.
Yeah, because I was never frustrated when I was naked with a guy, for example. Like if I was in a relationship or something, I don't know why that was not a problem. I was like, if the guy is here, he likes me and he wants to be with me, it's because he finds me beautiful. What's the point of worrying about? But if I was, in front of strangers in the beach, it's like, there's no way. No way.
And how do you feel about your tummy now?
Same.
Oh, same. All right. So it's a residue of a feeling.
It's still an issue, and it's so hard because me as a boudoir photographer, I encourage women and I say to women, hey, love yourself the way you are, but at the same time I am still with these insecurities, which is a double sword.
Of course,
because for one side I'm saying something that I cannot completely apply, but at the same time, hey, I understand your struggle. I feel you.
You completely understand this struggle. And would you ever say what you tell yourself to a friend? Would you ever say to a friend, wear a full piece?
No, never.
So isn't that crazy how we say things to ourselves that we wouldn't say ever to somebody we cared about? Yet it's enough to change your behavior. You either wouldn't go to the beach or you would wear something because the thought of doing it differently would be absolutely impossible. We live with that paradox. We know what to say to convince ourselves that we have the self-confidence, but when the rubber hits the road, we don't necessarily believe it.
Exactly. But what happened as well is that, for example, I did my own boudoir because I needed to be in the shoes of my clients.
You mean you organized a boudoir photography shoot with somebody else?
Well,
oh, okay. Okay.
Exactly. I had a very good friend of mine who I trust a lot. He's a man, but he is a very good photographer and he has impeccable taste. And I trust him blindly. So I was like, okay, if there is anyone that I would give, my most intimate image is you, man. So you come and do it. So he was like, yeah, we need to do this. We need to do this for like a year or something.
And where are you? Is this in Paris?
in Paris. And one day he actually had like a convention of, I don't know, 10 women or something, and they were coming to Paris and they needed a boudoir photographer. And they found him and he was doing the portraits for other things. And they said, hey, why don't you just come and do this boudoir thing? And he's like, Gloria, I'm in the shit. I need to practice. Let's do your boudoir now. So we did, and the thing is, so I was insecure still about my belly, so I planned my whole outfit out of it. So I used a jacket, a leather jacket that would close in the middle, but it would show my cleavage because I'm proud of my boobs. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna show my cleavage, but I won't show my tummy, and I will do in certain, or I would wear like a corset that would just, make my waist look small and all that. So I planned the whole outfit in order to look in a certain way, and the pictures are really nice and flattering. So it was a great exercise for me to see how I can enhance certain parts of the body and how can I discreetly, not show the ones that I didn't want to. And I always ask my clients as well, is like, is there any part of your body that you are self-conscious, that you don't want me to show and stuff? And which are the parts that you really love? Sometimes I'm lucky enough to find people that say, hey, I love everything, but that's very rare. And then I have people that say, hey, I love this, but I don't like that. So I know, like, okay, you have cellulite on your legs or whatever. Okay, we can use fabric, we can use lace, we can do this and that, and just show certain shape. Or now I know the tricks.
Well, that's one of the things I think I learned the most about lingerie in Paris and in France in particular. Sort of growing up in Canada and in North America, and the messaging still very much that way, that lingerie is a solution to a problem. If you have back fat, if you need to look 10 kilos lighter, if you want your breasts to be higher, it always implies that there's something wrong with you to start. And in France, lingerie is expressed as a way of suggesting imagination. So it's not fixing a problem. It's not as if French women have, I mean, as we've been talking about, there's a universal sense of being a woman and feminine, and we all have parts of ourselves that we like less than others. But it sort of seems to stop us in our tracks from doing anything if we become too obsessed with it. But if you can learn to use lingerie and clothing, as you've described, as a way of creating shadow and creating intrigue and creating play with light, you can actually still very much enjoy the moment,
Exactly. And you just said something very important, and it's light and shadow. That is key. That is key. Playing with lights, shadows, and lingerie is great. You can do so many things.
And lace is actually a woman's best friend, a little bit of lace covering this and the movement of your body in the lingerie fabrics, lace included, and what happens when you move, the light, the shadow, and it's a choreography, in fact. So how do you pick the lingerie for your photo shoots?
I have certain pieces here that I know that photograph well. I brought them from Colombia. I handpicked them all, in my favorite brands in Colombia, and I brought them here. So in case a client wants something, from that, they can buy it. But I encourage them to bring their own things, so they know already that they feel comfortable with something that they would put on, and they will look at the mirror and feel comfortable to be safe. And then if they want, they can purchase additional things while they're here.
Gloria, what has looking through the lens taught you about your own femininity and sensuality?
I think the effect that the lens has is very, whatever is closer to the camera looks bigger. So if you want to enhance the boobs, you just have certain poses in order, for example, for you to lean towards me, for me to have, to show the boobs bigger and then your waist smaller. Or the opposite, if you're very proud of your behind, for example, then it would be the opposite, or stuff like that. So I've learned through the light, through the shadows, through the lenses, through how actually the camera works, how to make a woman look flattering no matter the age, the shape, or whatever it is. That's one thing. And the other thing is, being a boudoir photographer has helped me get closer to women in general. I always been sensitive to the women's situations, women's problems, and this just makes sense for me. My mother is an architect, but she's a builder, like a contractor in Colombia, which is a third world, very macho, oriented country. So she always had to be a very strong personality for in order to be respected by the workers. So I grew up with this powerful woman, as a role model, and therefore I feel very sensitive to the women's situation. When I see someone who is victimized or who is diminished or who is, like she's been put down and she's insecure because, how society treats us, that breaks my heart. I consider myself a feminist for sure. And I think the feminist movement in general, as I see it, is that we don't need to be like men. And actually, in my particular opinion, I don't want to. We just want the same rights.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of us who still feel like we have to make the choice as if we have to give up one for the other. And that's
Which is absolutely not true. I mean, I'm okay. I'm okay with the guy opening the door for me. That's not a problem. Thank you so much for that's very thoughtful. I would open it for another woman or for another man. It's all right. I hold the door for somebody else as a human. I don't need to be a man. I don't need to dress as a man. I don't need to talk as a man. I don't know. I am good with my own femininity. I'm good feeling feminine and girly and putting skirts and nice things and playing with clothes and lingerie and earrings and all that things. I love it. It's fantastic. It's a creativity process, and I love clothes and being fashionable and design and all the things and flowers. And if my boyfriend brings me flower, I'm over the moon. I mean, that's fantastic. But I don't want the same rights, and I don't want to be told what to do. I don't want to. I want to manage my own things, and that's what femininity is for me.
And it's a big difference, and we're not quite there yet.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What is in your lingerie drawer at the moment?
Ooh, I have good pieces, all of them from Colombia, in fact, because my country produce gorgeous, beautiful, very, very well done lingerie. It's insane, the quality and the good design that you find there. It's just ridiculous.
So tell me about it. When you say that it's that you like the lingerie in Colombia, what is it about the style that you like?
Well, one thing is the lingerie that I have for a special occasion, and one is for my everyday life. And for my everyday life is very, very comfortable and plain and very simple. Shapes are very, I just have, these bras that are completely like no texture, no nothing. They're just like super simple, one single strap here, the triangles and everything. And they're super minimalistic. That's what I use every day because I like it. High quality, well done, comfortable, but very nicely shaped minimalistic underwear. It's what I use every day. But again, I have my pieces that I am very proud of and I love. And those pieces are, I have a beautiful corset, I have beautiful tights, I have lingerie robes, I have a beautiful bodies that I love. I absolutely love those bodies. I actually use some of those bodies with jackets or, just to mix them up a little bit.
And with jeans?
Yeah.
You wear it as ready to wear and you're dressed to go.
Yes, yeah.
Paris Undressed will be right back after a word from our sponsors. And now, back to Paris Undressed. And how, when you were talking about minimalist, I had this sort of image of architecture in my mind, with the body obviously being the most beautifully constructed piece of architecture
Yeah.
there is. Between the bras and underwear, what's your eye and your aesthetics say about that? Or is the underwear just as important as the bra? Or do you mix and match? How do you pick?
Well, to be honest, I am very Steve Jobs when it comes to to lingerie. Like everything is black.
Steve Jobs when it comes to lingerie.
Well, my panties and my bra are very, very, very similar. It's very minimalistic, which is super weird because in everything else in my life, I'm nothing, anything but minimalistic. Like I'm not. My decor is over the top. My clothes are over the top. I'm always pushing it. I'm always like just pushing it just a little bit. But when it comes with lingerie, for every day, I'm quite minimalistic. Black for panties always because I don't want to deal with the color or anything. It's just like black. It's safe. It's good. And then for bras as well. And obviously I go in between black and beige because the beige is what when you're wearing a white dress or something.
It does sound a lot like architecture in that you're constructing this sort of beautiful foundation for you to be able to move around in the city of light. At the moment for your business, what's the biggest challenge for you?
Right now, the tourism, like I have everything, all the proposition that I have is in English because that's the language that I use the most. So of course, with the COVID thing, at this time, it was complicated. It was a very complicated thing. Being closed and the restrictions on traveling have been
Yeah.
very challenging. But at the same time, now that they're opened, I'm beginning to have so many inquiries, so many people that wants to travel. People are desperate. People are desperate to travel. They want experiences. They're like, oh my God, I've been locked for a year and a half. I cannot take this anymore. This is just too much. I need to go out and live and just like make the most out of it because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So people are waking up and they're just desperate to come to Paris. So that is great because even though there are still a lot of restrictions, I can see how all these building materials or all these process of building my brand during the last 3 years are paying off.
And a little bit so the way you were describing when you were sick and then you had this moment of reflection that, okay, life is now. What do I want to do? And Paris is at the top of the list. So it's a bit of a nudge, those things that in the future, I'll do it sometime. If anything, perhaps the pandemic has reminded us about the fragility of life and just how much experiences are important to do as soon as, don't wait, we don't have to wait.
Yeah, and it's very particular that you say that because, for example, one of the answers that I always get from women is, "Oh, I'd love to do it. I just need to lose 10 kilos." Always, it's like, "Oh, fantastic! I would do it. I just need to lose 5 kilos. I just need to lose 10 kilos." And come on, we normally never do that. So if you are going to be waiting forever till you feel you're ready, but you never are going to really feel that you're ready, and then life is going to pass by and you never did what you wanted to do. From my experiences, obviously, and this COVID, as you said, has shown us is life is now. Just do it.
And you can feel better right now without changing your body. On your website, you have that lovely quote from Audrey Hepburn, Paris is always a good idea. What do you love most about Paris?
Ooh, where to start? Oh my God. Paris is fantastic. I'm absolutely passionate about it. I love it. I feel like home. But I think the thing that I love the most about this city is that it's an adventure of its own. If you are bored in Paris, just simply go out and walk. You don't need to do anything else. Paris is going to surprise you always. Always. You always are going to find something cute, a nice building, a good, beautiful balcony, a nice little shop, somebody who's interesting in the street, a nice gallery. Paris is an adventure. It's just, there is a quote of Hemingway that says, if you're lucky enough to live in Paris when you're young, then you will take Paris with you wherever you go.
So true, so true. An expression or a bit of a saying in French, salé or sucré, salty or sugary. Do you prefer salé or sucré, salt or sugar?
Salt for sure.
Okay. And a favorite taste that goes with that? Salt?
I like avocado with salt.
Avocado with salt.
Yeah, that's how we eat in our country, and I love it.
I've never tried that.
Well, in Colombia, normally when we have a lunch, like a normal lunch, we have like the soup, rice, or whatever, a piece of meat or whatever, and we partner that with an avocado and we put salt on it and we eat it with a spoon.
Well, I'm going to try that next. I have an avocado that is just waiting to be sliced in half. And
just put salt on it and eat it with a spoon, and it's fantastic.
Okay. Gloria, what's your favorite street in Paris?
Ooh, where's my favorite street? There are so many. There are so many. Le Marais is fantastic. Maybe La Rue de Bretagne with the Marché des Enfants Rouges, and that area is fantastic. Around Le Carré du Temple with all these cafes, it's fantastic as well. And also in Saint-Germain-des-Prés, around Odéon, between Odéon and this other side, you have this alley where are all these restaurants, and actually there is the oldest restaurant in Paris right there. That is a beautiful, fantastic alley that I absolutely love. So many places. It's insane.
And there's so many streets to discover as well. Gloria, something that you like to do on a Sunday morning?
Let's say Sunday afternoon, because Sunday morning I'm sleeping. Well, I love picnics. I love picnics with friends. And there are many amazing, beautiful places to picnic in Paris.
Bring a baguette, some cheese, and open a bottle of wine and enjoy the company of friends. Yeah,
exactly. And that is definitely something very Parisian. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
Gloria, thank you so much for joining us today.
It was a huge pleasure. A huge pleasure. I have enjoyed every minute of this conversation, for sure.
To see for yourself the beauty Gloria captures through her lens, follow the links in the show notes below. Thank you. Merci for listening to Paris Undressed. Paris Undressed is produced by Paris Underground Radio. For more on this show and shows like it, please go to parisundergroundradio.com.